Hello. Welcome to the stream. We're back again for another Friday. Hope everyone's weekend is going well. Just hanging out today. Let me know if you can see me and hear me. And let me know if everything sounds okay. Fuzzy numbers you can. That's good. We're off to a good start. There's some music in the background. Let me know if it's even audible, and if it is, if it's too loud. But yeah, how's everybody's Friday looking? Any weekend plans? What's up, Master Kawas? Kawas? Continuing my weekly stream. I think I missed one Friday. I streamed last Friday, but I missed the Friday before that. But I've actually been pretty consistent with streaming at least once a week, which was kind of the goal. And I also do a gaming stream on Thursdays if anyone is interested in that. Currently playing Disco Elysium. Had people fussing at me last time because apparently I wasn't playing the game optimally, but you know. Have you watched the Netflix documentary The Perfect Neighbor? I have not. Is that a true crime thing? Yeah. Yeah, I don't really keep up with a lot of those documentaries and stuff. I always hear people talking about this. It seems like they just pump out these documentaries. I'm always hearing about a new one, but I haven't seen any of them really. Have you ever watched Yu-Gi-Oh or played the card game? I definitely have watched Yu-Gi-Oh. It used to come on like WB Kids or whatever, and I used to watch it. So I'm actually pretty familiar with like the first. I don't know if it's like a season or just like the first arc of Yu-Gi-Oh, the show, like the Pegasus arc. Because I've seen it a bunch of times because it used to come on TV a lot when I was a kid. I don't know what happens after that though. Um, and I've played a little bit of the card game. I remember way back in the day, like early 2000s, there was a There was a Yu-Gi-Oh PC game. Like I know there's a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh games now, but back then I feel like there weren't any. If maybe there was like one, but I remember playing Yu-Gi-Oh on PC. I don't know if I've ever played the physical card game though. Every now and then I will get recommended some content about the Yu-Gi-Oh card game, and I'll watch a YouTube video because I was really into Hearthstone for a while, and when you watch a bunch of Hearthstone content, you sometimes get recommended like Yu-Gi-Oh and Magic content. I also played a decent amount of Magic too, but yeah, I'm pretty out of the loop when it comes to the game these days. Couldn't tell you anything about it really. They first created the story, but they didn't even know what the game was supposed to be. There's so much shit in Yu-Gi-Oh now. I'm sure. I mean, that's how. If a game lasts that long, or a show lasts that long, they got they got to find a way to keep it interesting. Which shows are you watching now, or what's a show genre you're interested in exploring? A show genre? Um, well, I don't know. I'm I've been previewing a lot of different sitcoms because normally my videos are about sitcoms, but I am open to doing other genres. Like if I'm watching a show these days, it's usually as research for a video. Um, I wanna watch more sort of like nostalgic shows that aren't sitcoms. So like the ones that I have in mind are stuff like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and The X-Files is something I want to watch. Um like Xena Warrior Princess, sort of those like 90s and early 2000s staples that a lot of people watch but aren't necessarily sitcoms. Like I'm interested in watching more stuff like that. But also just a bunch of sitcoms. I have like dozens of sitcoms on my list that I'll watch like one or two episodes to see like where it's going or see if an idea sparks. Am I out of focus? I feel like I'm slightly out of focus. But yeah, the card game is pretty expensive and the mechanics changed a lot and it's pretty confusing for new players. Yeah, that's kind of the vibe I get. I know those cards have so much text on them. It's pretty crazy compared to like Magic or especially Hearthstone. Yu-Gi-Oh cards have so much text on them. It's like why is there so many mechanics in this game? Is Disco Elysium as overwhelming as I think it is? I haven't gotten around to play it. Overwhelming? I mean, compared to what, I guess? I don't think it's any more overwhelming than any other popular video game, but I'm definitely out of focus now. Can it find me? I think my lens is messed up. I'm always out of focus. I'll fix it in a sec. But Disco Elysium it's basically a visual novel, so um there's a lot of text and a lot of choices that you have to make. So if that's overwhelming to you, then maybe. But mostly the game is just clicking and reading, so it's not that bad. It's not like, at least I haven't encountered any like I mean, there's kind of like a lot of like historical background information, but I don't think it's required to understand that to play the game. You kind of just pick it up as you go. But I haven't encountered any like intense um, lore or like inventory management or anything like that. The stat system is pretty complex, but you don't really have to pay that much attention to it. You just click on stuff and stuff happens. It's well designed in that sense where you can kind of enjoy the game without really paying attention to any of the mechanics, because really all you have to do is click on stuff. Obviously, you probably will have a more rewarding experience if you do understand all the mechanics. Which I mean, I guess I kind of get the mechanics, but I kind of don't also. So I'm about like 20 hours into the game. Please do Buffy. Maybe. I've never seen a single episode of Buffy. I just know that it was very popular back in the day. But yeah, I'm interested in watching some shows like that. Sliders or Quantum Leap would be fun. Yeah. When we're getting into Quantum Leap and stuff like that, that's where I have to think about like the target audience. I think my audience is like slightly below my age. Like I'm 40. So I don't know if a lot of people would have. I mean, I definitely know Quantum Leap, but I'm not like super familiar with it. I was like really young when Quantum Leap was even mentioned. But that would be interesting for sure. When you think of these show Keenan and Kel, what is the first thing that comes to mind? Would that thing be a subject in a future video? I don't know if I get what you're asking. Like what about Keenan and Kel would be the subject of the video? Not totally sure. I'd have to actually watch it, but definitely that show is on my list of potential video topics. All right, I thought I fixed the autofocus, but I clearly did not. Wait, where is it? Whoops. Um, so yeah. A lot of times when it comes to like videos and TV shows and stuff, I like watch the show. Like sometimes I'll have an idea for the video before I even watch the show, but then I still have to watch the show to see if that idea like has any legs. If it's a show that I've seen a lot of, then I might already have an idea. Like for example, I did a video about Elaine from Seinfeld, and before I even rewatched Seinfeld, I kind of already knew the idea for that video because it's something that I had already thought about before. But sometimes I just watch a show, and as I'm watching the show, I start to just think about, because I just naturally lean my mind just leans towards like over analyzing things and like coming up with fan theories or trying to you know following a character's arc throughout the whole, like I just think about that stuff naturally. So sometimes when I watch a show, um I come up with the idea later after watching the show. There's a total of 7 spin-offs of the original Yu-Gi-Oh anime and another Yu-Gi-Oh anime called Season 0. I didn't know that. That's wild. That's a lot for sure. Yeah, I've only seen the first arc of Yu-Gi-Oh, but I've seen it a bunch of times. Am I reading any good books? Not really. I'm accepting recommendations though. You should check out Farscape, but it also might only hit with a niche audience. Yeah, I've never seen Farscape, but I've heard. I mean, some other people have mentioned it. Um, but sci-fi type stuff is sort of on the list of things to check out. But I would probably at least start out with something popular like Star Trek. But if I do a video about Star Trek and it does really well, then I might, maybe be open to trying other stuff. Speaking to your audience demographics, I'm in my 50s. LOL, I'm good with Quantum Leap, etc. Yeah, that's fair. And honestly, if I put out the video and the people who are interested in that, watch the video and support it and it still does well, then that's fine. You don't have to hit every single demographic, but, I just don't want to put out a video and it gets like 200 views because nobody's interested in that show or that topic. I you know but there's also ways that you can get people interested in something. I think the key, or I think the best YouTubers are good at making you care about something that you didn't know that you cared about. I don't know that I'm good at that, but if I could figure out a way to make some of these stories interesting, even if you aren't necessarily super familiar or super enthusiastic about a certain show, that would be ideal. But that's a skill that I have to develop, I think. Any thoughts on D20 Cloudward Ho? I mean, I like it. I haven't finished it. I actually I got I've watched like maybe like 10 or so episodes, but I decided to start over because I felt kind of lost, and I think it's because I wasn't really paying close attention because I would just like play it while I was doing other stuff like folding laundry or cooking or something, and I just wasn't really paying close attention and I felt really lost. So I decided to start over. So I'm I'm um I'm back at the beginning. But I mean, I love every season of D20. I don't know about every season, but I love like 99.9% of seasons of Dimension 20. So I'm officially in that sort of fanboy stage when it comes to Dimension 20, and honestly Dropout in general, but especially Dimension 20. It's hard for them. It would be very hard for them to make something that I don't like. I will say, as far as Dimension 20 seasons go, I think there's several that I like better than Cloudwood Ho, at least so far. But you know, maybe I'll develop an appreciation for it because I had to start over. So H Bomb made me watch a video about Pathologic, a game I never and will never, I guess, play or whatever. But yeah, H Bomber guy is a perfect example of that. He's like the master of making you care about something that you didn't know that you cared about. Um, and yeah, I don't know. I don't necessarily have that skill, and it could be just the subject matter. I think gaming is a little bit more of a universal concept than old sitcoms, but that's fine. But obviously he does more than just gaming, so I think he's H bomb is just at a point where you know the videos are going to be good, so you just basically just click on whatever he makes. Like, I don't think there are very few people who can make a video with the title like Roblox oof .mp3 and that's the whole title. There are very few people who can do that, and I will actually click on the video. I think H Bomber Guy has sort of established himself as someone who makes high quality videos, so you click on it, even though it's kind of a weird title. Some of the spin-offs are ridiculous in concept, but it's executed very well, and you can still take the plot seriously. For example, there's GX and 5DS, where GX takes place, where kids go to a boarding school to learn how to play the card game, and 5DS involves playing the card game on motorcycles. What? Honestly, you could be making all this up, and I wouldn't even know any better. But yeah, I'm not familiar with any of that. But people enjoy it. That's fine. They did the same thing with Pokemon, right? And there were a whole bunch of spin-offs of Pokemon. He tells a story which makes whatever he's talking about captivating. Yeah. I mean, yeah, storytelling is a very important skill, I think, for to be a content creator. Quentin reviews is like that for me. I literally don't understand why I've watched so many hours about Nickelodeon shows that aren't for me. Yeah, I haven't. I haven't watched a lot of Quentin reviews. I don't know. I get intimidated when I see like a 7 hour video, but Quentin has some shorter ones that I've seen. It's pronounced 5Ds. I guess I could have put that together by the way that you wrote it, but like I said, I don't know anything about it, so the Buffy the Vampire video games are interesting. I haven't seen anyone talk about them in depth though. I didn't even know there were Buffy the Vampire video games. Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Quentin has exceeded my limit. He makes 23-hour videos. Yeah, I don't know. I really, I mean, honestly, I was gonna say I don't see myself watching like a 7+ hour, 10 hour video. But honestly, if you asked me like 5 years ago, would I watch a 4 hour video? I probably would have said no. But I watched H Bomber Guy's 4 hour plagiarism video, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. So if the video's good enough, I guess you'll do it. A lot of those long ones have interlude tangents and 30-minute Garfield info dumps. I should hope so. I hope it's. I mean, I don't know, man. It works. It works for him. I imagine if you're gonna make a long video, you have to find ways to keep people's interest. So I would hope there would be some kind of like breaks or like a variety of different visuals and like different things you can do. So what, in your opinion, is the best length for a watchable YouTube/Nebula video? It just depends on the topic, really. Um, Usually, I'm not super interested in watching a video that's an hour long, more than an hour long. But if it's a really interesting topic and it's a really good video, then I'll do it. Um, I don't know. This might be a hot take, but I think that like most video essays are boring as hell. I know some people like video essays, um, but I think most people are not great at making video essays that aren't boring. But you know, it works for them. People watch them. But you know, people will make like a hour and a half, 2 hour video essay, and it's like, I'm not watching this. I'm already bored. It's like 8 minutes in, and I'm already bored. Um, so like, if you can do it, like if you're good, if you can make an entertaining video, I think an hour is a good length for like a video essay. Maybe an hour and a half. If you're going longer than an hour and a half, like if you're pushing 2 hours, the only type of videos that I'm watching that's more than 2 hours long are like if it's like a stream, or if it's like, you know, like a full gameplay of a tabletop game or something like that. I'm not trying to watch a 2-3 hour video essay unless you're the GOAT, like H Bomber guy or something. Like if you're that good at, you know, I probably just watch. It probably doesn't matter how long it is. Like my videos, I don't think I have ever made a video that was an hour long. That wasn't a stream. Um, but it's not necessarily because I don't want to. It's just I don't really have that much to say about anything. Because I just think it's boring. Like, you know, like when I do a video about a TV show, I could be like, you know, is I could be like, The Office was created in 2001 or whenever it was created. It was created by Greg Daniels, and when Greg Daniels was a kid, he wanted to be a filmmaker. Like I could do that, but that's boring to me. Like to me, that's why these videos get so long, is because people just add in all this fluff. But that's just my opinion. How do you feel about podcasts? I don't listen to a whole lot of podcasts. But again, it's a similar thing. If I'm like really, really into the topic, then it probably doesn't matter how long it is. And usually I'm listening to podcasts passively, like while doing other stuff. So I don't pay a lot of attention to how long it is. Um, and honestly, like I said, I don't really listen. The only podcast that I listen to these days, there may be some YouTube podcasts that I'm not thinking of, but I listen to the Pod Meets World podcast, which is the Boy Meets World rewatch podcast. And those, you know, those are around an hour to an hour and a half an episode, which seems reasonable for something like that. If they were much longer, I don't know how interested I would be. Although they also do interviews on um on their podcast, and sometimes the interviews are really interesting. And so if it's a really, really interesting interview, you know, I could watch that forever. And that kind of goes for, I think I could say that about a lot of interviews and podcasts. If there's like a really, really interesting interview with someone that I think is really interesting or something like that, I can watch that for an hour or two probably. Like I just watched, they just dropped the Mythical Kitchen channel, if you guys are familiar with that. Josh from Mythical Kitchen has his show Last Meals, where he like interviews people while letting them eat their favorite meal. And he just did an interview with Brennan Lee Mulligan, who I'm a fan of. And I think that interview was about an hour and a half long. And I watched the whole thing because it was an interesting interview. So Lindsay Ellis, H Bomb, Dan Olson can keep me watching for more than an hour, but not many more. Yeah, for sure. Like those are among the goats, I think, in the video essay space. Um, yeah, so many long videos go way too hard in the exposition. Like if I clicked on the video, I already know about the topic. I'm not here watching videos about shows I've never heard of. I guess. I mean, even if you like I said, I would like to like. I think people like H Bomb and Dan Olson are good at making you care about stuff that you didn't think you cared about. But I don't think the way to do that is by filling your video with a bunch of boring exposition and background info. It's pretty obvious what happened to Joe Rogan, but back in the day, did you have a favorite episode of JRE before 2020? A favorite episode? I don't know. I actually did used to watch Joe Rogan a decent amount, like way back in the day. I always liked when he interviewed or when he had Neil deGrasse Tyson on. Like I feel like Neil deGrasse Tyson has been on Joe Rogan like 10 times, but I just like when he has like smart people on, like actually, or sometimes when he has like comedians that I like on there. That was good. But I haven't watched Joe Rogan in a while. It takes me a few days to finish those really long video essays. That doesn't make them any less enjoyable. Why do people feel like they have to watch a 4-hour video in one sitting? Yeah, you definitely. I don't even see how people watch Quentin reviews videos in one sitting. Is that even possible? Um, I guess if you're watching on like 2x speed, you can do it. But yeah, you don't have to watch in one sitting. I tend to prefer to watch things in one. It depends though. Um, but yeah, there have definitely been videos that I have taken multiple sittings to watch, but I don't really prefer that. I would like to finish a video in one sitting if I can. I just showed up at FD Signifier. Yeah, his videos also can be on the long side, and yeah, they're usually pretty watchable. Have you watched Smallville? I've probably seen a couple episodes. I don't know a whole lot about Smallville though. Lily Simpson, love her video. I don't think I've seen Lily Simpson. Do you still do collabs? I feel like I haven't seen you pop up anywhere but your channel in a minute. I haven't done a collab in a while. I'm still open to doing collabs, but collabs require coordination and uh, people have to have an idea. I think kind of a lot of people just kind of do their thing and you can say let's collab, but if no one has a good idea, and it's not like how it used to. How it used to be where doing collabs could help you grow your channel. Like that doesn't really work anymore. So I think people care about it less. Um but I don't know, maybe everyone else is doing collabs and I'm just being left out. But I'm open to doing collabs. I don't really have any ideas. He's a good interviewer, just it's just who he decides to interview. Joe Rogan. Yeah, I think he's a good interviewer and a good conversationalist. Um and I don't want to like rehash all of the known criticisms of Joe Rogan, but you know the deal, like sometimes he's just not equipped to sort of critically push back on people who say nonsense on his podcast. And also he's like sort of he seems very prone to conspiracies and conspiracy theories and things like that. Um but yeah, I don't know. I don't really know what happened with Joe Rogan. This is why I don't know, people are just I feel like people are just like constantly disappointing to me. I feel like I don't know. Cuz Joe Rogan is like clearly a smart dude. I don't know. It's hard to even really describe. And plus I haven't watched him in a long time, so who knows what he's talking about these days. But you know, like the fact that he like endorsed Trump and has been talking on he was like I don't know if he was like purely anti-vax, but he was like vaccine skeptical or whatever. And he was just saying a bunch of dumb shit. It's like, why are you doing this, man? It seems like you're like I understand you he's like kind of a goofy guy. He doesn't believe that we landed on the moon and shit like that. Like, yeah, you've got your weird conspiracy theories, but like you should be able to tell when people are lying to you. For a person that seems so like questioning of things, it's just weird to like to fall for like sort of basic nonsense like anti-vax and Trump. But you know, that's how it goes. That's why I don't like to be conspiratorial myself, but sometimes I think it's very like very conscious what some of these people do. Um what's your favorite classic YouTube video? I don't know if I can pick one video. And I wonder what people think of when they think of classic YouTube. Cuz for some people I think classic YouTube might be like 10 years ago. But for me, classic YouTube is like 2006, 2007, 2008. And in those days, I was watching people like Vlogbrothers and who I still watch. I actually just watched their latest video. Community Channel, I think, is one of the goats of classic YouTube. Swoozy, Lisa Nova. But to pick one video is hard. Old school Dax Flame was hilarious. The wine cone. Neil deGrasse Tyson's so full of himself, but that's why I enjoy him so much. Yeah, he I feel like he had a phase where he was like just like maybe he still is, but he was just like he was like obnoxiously pedantic where I think he was getting a lot of traction from just sort of like going around like correcting people about stuff. So he that was like part of his brand for a while. But I don't know. He's thing about him is even when he's obnoxious, he's usually right. So What are you into for music lately? I don't really like listen to, well, I mean, I listen to music, but I don't keep up with music and I don't pursue new music anymore. This is kind of a thing that happens after you get old, I guess. I don't know. I shouldn't speak for other people, but I just listen to my old playlists that I've been listening to for years. Every now and then I'll hear a new song that I like and add it there, but um I just listen to like early 2000s hip hop and pop and stuff like that. Classic rock, old school grunge. But yeah, I feel like music for me is not my go-to media whenever, when I want to relax or just, enjoy media. I don't really go to music that much. Every now and then I do, but I like visual media is better, I think. Visual media. Numa Numa still goes hard. That's a classic. I mean, that's pre YouTube though, is it? Or am I wrong? I think that I want to say that originated on like Albino Black Sheep or E Bombs World or one of those things. Um, and then eventually it got on YouTube. I could be wrong about that though. He's good in Star Talk. Yeah, I've everything I've seen. Every time I've seen, I don't like religiously watch Star Talk, but everything I've seen, I'm definitely subscribed, and everything I've seen has been good. Have you been keeping up with the Scrabble World Championship this week at all? Uh, a little bit. I've been keeping up with it insofar as I've been watching Will Anderson's videos about it. And I haven't watched his most recent one though. I need to watch it. Probably will do that later. I remember when Star Wars: The Force Awakens came out, and Neil saw BB-8 run on stand, and Neil went on for 2 hours arguing with fans about how that's not possible on Twitter. Yeah, exactly. That's the type of stuff that he used to do. Maybe he still does. I don't really go on Twitter, so I don't know what he does. But yeah, he did that a lot during those times. And it's like, okay, you're right. It's like what's the line? You're not wrong, you're just an asshole. But it might be one of those things where, cuz you know, Neil deGrasse Tyson is a astrophysicist and a science communicator, but he's also a content creator. And when you do something and it gets a lot of engagement, you start to think, "Oh, I should probably do that more." But the thing is, I'm not one of those people that thinks all publicity is good publicity. All engagement is not good engagement. If you're getting a lot of engagement, but you're just frustrating and pissing people off, for half of that engagement, then I don't know if maybe that's not the thing. Or if you're like courting a certain type of audience. See, that was the thing that I sort of reckoned with real like way early on in my YouTube career is cuz you like if your content is just you calling out stuff and telling people that they're wrong and like being a smartass, that you're gonna court a certain type of audience. Even if even if it's all in good fun, you're gonna court an audience of smartasses, and I had to reckon with that early in my career because, I mean, I guess I can be a smartass sometimes if I want to be, and especially when I was younger, like 10+ years ago, I definitely was a huge smartass. But I didn't, I wasn't trying to piss anybody off or hurt anybody's feelings. I was just, just making content. Um, but I decided like I don't want. That's not the audience I want, because even though you may mean it in good fun, not everybody who watches it is going to take it that way, or is going to perceive it that way, or engage with it that way. But overall, at the end of the day, I mean, I'm a fan of NDT. Like, he seems to be a good guy overall. He doesn't seem like he's making the world worse. Neil can be smug, but when he's being smug to flat earthers, I can never hate on that. I don't know. I don't even know why anyone is engaging with flat earthers these days. I guess it's just for content. Flat earthers are the epitome of the common saying, you can't use reason, or what is it? You can't reason someone out of an opinion that they didn't use reason to come to. I think flat earthers are the absolute epitome of that. Stressed out tonight. My niece is having to be flown by air ambulance to my city because of an infection they can't deal with at this hospital in my hometown. I want to go support my sister, but I don't think the hospital will let me in at night outside of visiting hours. Oh, that's definitely a stressful situation. Um, is the hospital far away from you? I mean, you should at least try, I guess. Sometimes they make exceptions for, especially for family. Yes, please just ignore the flat earthers. None of your arguments will change their mind. Yeah, they're not. Yeah, they're not prepared to. They don't have a conception of the fact that they could be wrong. It's like a religion almost. In fact, I mean, I think most flat Earth is based around religion. Um, but yeah, I think a good thing to do whenever you have a debate or conversation with someone, and also it's a good thing to ask yourself, but always ask, what needs to happen or what do I need to see in order for my mind to be changed. You should always ask yourself that about any opinion that you have, and if you want to debate someone, I think that's a good thing to ask them. If you have no answer to that, then probably it's not worth it to engage you, because it's like dogma at that point. It's like it's no longer an opinion. It's like faith almost at that point. It's about 40 minutes drive away from me. My sister's disabled, so it's possible they'll let me in, but I won't know until they get to the hospital, which will be pretty late. Yeah, I don't know. It's a rough situation. I think if it was me, I would just go anyway and just see what they allow. And I don't know when the visiting hours begin. Maybe you can um just wait until the first thing in the morning or whenever visiting hours begin. But I probably would just go. And I don't know if how much information you have. Like, are they gonna be? They're gonna have to be like admitted there for a while, like overnight for several days or whatever. So I don't know if you have all that information. How do you maintain hope right now? Are we fucked? I mean, it's a broad question. With regard to what? Like, humans in general, America, Trump, the economy. Um, how to maintain hope? I guess it depends on what your hope is. But you have to think about all of the things that humans have been through. It's a hard question to answer because I think in general, like long term grand scheme of things, um, I don't really I don't really have much hope that humans are gonna figure this thing out. I think we've kind of dug ourselves too deep of a hole. And also I think humans are just have some natural qualities that sort of prevent us from really living in peace. Um but that's like sort of long term. Even though I think that's true, I still think it's worth it to try and make our lives as good as we can while we're here. And humans have been through a lot of stuff. I think sometimes people forget all of the shit that we've done on this earth and made it through, There's been two world wars and we somehow made it out, you know? Obviously a lot of people died and a lot of people will continue to die, but you know, some people survived it, you know? What are your thoughts on a second Simpsons movie? I mean, that's fine. I haven't really watched The Simpsons lately, but I think The Simpsons has earned the right to do whatever they want at this point. People have to want to change their opinions. Most flat earthers don't want to change their opinions, so you can't change their mind. Yeah, exactly. Is the stream buffering, by the way? I'm getting error messages. But if even if it is though, I don't know that I can do anything about it. It might just be my internet being bad. Visiting hours are pretty short from 3 to 8 p.m. I suppose they'll be here for as long as it takes to deal with the infection. I don't know how long that will be at this point. Yeah, well, the only way to gain more information is to try and get it. If you just sit around, you won't have any more information. So I would say just go and just figure out the situation and then go from there. Or at least that's what I would do. I don't maybe traveling 40 minutes is just more than you want to do, which is fair, but sometimes you just got to do something difficult. And you sometimes you put in a lot of time and effort only to realize that it was for nothing. But at least in that case. If you didn't put in the time, you wouldn't know. You'd just be sort of in limbo. I think it's better to know than to be in limbo. But that's just me. I don't have all the facts of the situation, so I can't really. And not that you even asked for my advice, but that's just the way that I feel. Whoops. A hill I will die on is that if there was no religion in this whole world, the world would be a significantly better place to live in right now. I mean, I probably agree with that. I'm not. I would consider myself pretty anti-religion, but I feel like even without religion, humans will always find a way to sort of divide and try to control people. I feel like that's just in the nature of humans. But religion is a big one for sure. I think it's religion, and honestly, you can like apply religion to a lot of things that are like sometimes political parties can resemble religions. Um, but yeah, religion it is sort of uniquely heinous in that it like gives people permission to be terrible to each other. I think in other situations you kind of have to use some pretty significant mental gymnastics to justify evil behavior, but religion just kind of like gives you sort of a blanket um excuse a lot of the time at least. Back in the day, if your band had a Weird Al parody made or a cameo in The Simpsons, your band had officially become mainstream. Yeah. I mean, The Simpsons, I feel like if you're under a certain age, you don't understand how big of a deal The Simpsons were. Like, The Simpsons was everywhere. And it was like, and it was good. That's the thing. It wasn't a fluke. Like the first, even from season one, like the first, like what is it? Like the first 8 to 10 seasons of of the Simpsons are like maybe like the greatest show ever. And it was good from the beginning. That's something I realized recently because I was watching just random clips of the Simpsons, and I forgot how many iconic episodes of The Simpsons are in the first season. Like just from the very beginning, it was super good. I plan on going tonight, but I'm gonna wait for my sister to give me an update on what the hospital has to say. They were pretty vague when she called them. It's a children's hospital, so I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't make an exception. Oh, I see. All right. Well, I mean, hopefully it works out in a way that is you know good for all. But yeah, you never know. It's hard to yeah, it's hard to really predict what's going to happen. But sometimes they give exceptions for sure. I think if there's no religion, people would rally around influencers or other celebrities instead, and it'd be the same thing. Influencer culture feels like religion sometimes. Yeah, I mean, in some ways, like I said, sometimes things can resemble religion. I think the main difference about religion is that religion is usually centered around the idea of an infallible god or godlike creature or godlike person. And I know that, sometimes people treat influencers and celebrities as if they are influential godlike people, but it requires a little more mental gymnastics, I think. Like, if you say, like, well, it's okay for me to hate gay people because the almighty infallible God hates gay people. That's a little more intense, I think, than if you say it's okay for me to hate gay people because Mr. Beast hates gay people, which I don't think he does, but that's just the first name that came to mind. It's a little bit more intense when you believe that you have sort of permission from a actual like perfect infallible, omnipotent creature. Um, appreciate you letting me vent at least. Oh, no worries. That's fine. Yeah, it's a stressful situation for sure. What do you think it truly means to not care what people think of about you? I can never tell whether or not that advice is good or not, or whether it's even realistic. I think it's just oversimplified advice. I think the spirit of the advice is correct though. Like in general, I would say that it's a bad idea to be overly worried about things that you can't control. And one of the main things you can't control is other people and what other people do and how other people feel. Um, you know, in general, I mean, in very specific cases, you can control how other people feel, but as a general rule, you can't do that. Um, but all people are influenced by the people around them. We want people to like us. We, especially certain people, there are certain people that you want to like you or that you want to be proud of you. So obviously there are cases where you're going to care about what people think about you. That's fine. Um, but I think there's a level where it's like if you're like losing sleep, if you're having like panic attacks, if if your the entire peace and happiness of your life revolves around someone else's feelings, that's definitely a problem. Absolutely. I think it's okay to be like, man, I really want this person to like me. Or in some cases, like, I really, it would be good if my employer liked me. Or it would be good if my parents liked me. Or it would be good if my children liked me. I think that's perfectly fine. I think the problem is if your entire happiness revolves around how another person feels, that's a problem. Now, if you're in a position where you are heavily affected by how other people feel, how do you fix that? I don't know if I have the answer to that. You might need to talk to a therapist. But for me, I try really hard not to be super, super affected by things I can't control. Or if I'm in a situation, like if there is something you can't control that you want, you can try to extrapolate that to, well, what parts of this can I control? So like if you want your boss to, or I don't know, like if you want your parents to like you, obviously you can't control how they feel. But what can you control? You can control your own behavior. You can try to be a kinder, or more generous, a more giving person. But in that case, you also have to make sure that you're not being like taken advantage of and manipulated and things like that, because sometimes people will take advantage of the fact that they know that you want them to like you, and then that can lead to like gaslighting and abuse and stuff. So it's very complicated. Like I said, it's just oversimplified. It's an oversimplified piece of advice. Be Daria. Well, that's the thing about Daria. As a person who recently rewatched the show, even Daria cares what people think. She acts like she doesn't care, but she definitely does. I've been following the dumpster fire of Moms for Liberty, and it feels religious too, how they rally around this political cult to ban books for the children. Yeah, I think politics is, at least these days, politics is like the closest thing to religion. A lot of people are very, very dogmatic when it comes to politics. They believe things without question and have no answer to what would need to happen for them to change their minds. Some people just completely have no intention of ever changing their minds on anything. If it's not religion, it's race, politics, or land. For some reason, human beings seem to have this need to find purpose through fighting each other. Not everyone, but humanity in general. Yeah. I don't even know. I don't even think it's it's kind of that. Yeah. I think the purpose is being part of a group. People like to be part of a group. They like having a team. And this is actually a very well-known psychological concept. It's used in like marketing, it's used in branding. One of the best ways to get people on your team is to point out a common enemy. In fact, it may be the best way to do that. You would think that, you know, having shared interests or like cooperating together. No, the best way to get people together get people on the same page is to give them a common enemy. For the children, feels like a common excuse to bully people when it's clear they don't care about the kids at all. Yeah, I mean, people. A lot of this, I don't think is subconscious. Like, I just don't think. Well, there are certain groups I think that are like just filled with just nasty people, but I don't think that most people are evil. But I do think that people are very good at justifying evil behavior to themselves and to others. So I think a lot of these people might genuinely think that they're for the children, but they just don't really examine themselves enough to realize that what they're doing doesn't really help anyone because they have a common enemy. They want to fight their enemy. Hi, do you use Grinder? I don't use Grinder. Have you ever been to New York City? I've heard from someone the other day that New York sucks only to anyone who hates cities. I've been inside of New York City, but I have not really hung out there. Especially and I haven't been there as an adult, I don't think. So I couldn't really judge it. It seems very crowded though. And I don't think that is just from some like I would call myself a city person. I like cities, but New York seems pretty intense. It seems just like crowded and expensive. But I've been to other big cities that I like. I like New Orleans a lot. I like LA. So yeah, I don't think it just means I don't like cities, but again, I haven't really hung out there, so I'm kind of speaking a little bit out of my ass. Liar? I mean, if I used Grinder, there would be no reason to lie. I don't think it's like a shameful thing. I just don't use it. I have no. It's not. I'm not the target audience for Grinder. I think sports are a healthy way to channel our inherent sense of tribalism, unless, of course, you are one of those dumbasses who gets drunk and throws hands in the bleachers. Yeah, I back sports. I do think some people take sports too seriously for sure. Like I'm a pretty competitive person, and I like the idea of team sports, and just team activities. I like that. But yeah, some people can take it a little too far. NYC is intense. I'm 2 hours away. Fun to be there for a bit. More fun going home. Yeah, I can imagine New York City being a decent place to visit. To live there though, that seems intense. But even some like I just said I love New Orleans, but I would never live in New Orleans, I don't think. That seems crazy. But I don't know. It depends. Like I have some friends that live in New Orleans and they love it. Or a city like Vegas, for example. It seems like it would be intense to live in Vegas. But I've known several people that lived there and they actually liked it a lot. So I don't know. Honestly found cities like Fort Lauderdale to be way worse than NYC. That's interesting. Why is that? New York is chaotic and expensive, but I can completely understand why so many people fall in love with it. There's something in that city that you can there's always something in that city you can immerse yourself in. Yeah, I mean it's a city with a lot of culture and a lot of things to do and a lot of variety. So I can see that. Like I said, I mean I think that's why it's such a popular and good place to visit. Um but yeah, living there seems intense. If only that it's just so expensive. Which, I said I like LA, but if LA just seems impossible to live in. I don't see how anyone lives there. Just because of the cost of living. Like I watch, there's a lot of content creators and celebrities that live in LA. And I know that there's a lot of celebrities and content creators that are, quite well off and quite wealthy. But then there are some that I watch and it's like I don't think this is a rich person. Like they seem to be like gainfully employed, but I don't think they're rich. How do they afford to live in LA? I don't even get it really. The sports fans that assault the opposite team's fans always get me. They're there because they love the same sport. The craziness over team loyalty is nuts. Yeah, it can get pretty crazy. I enjoy like a good sports rivalry. Like it's fun, but people take it personally sometimes. And I have a lot of experience with this. If anyone recognizes that, that's an Alabama poster. And we have one of the most intense football rivalries here in Alabama. It's Alabama versus Auburn. And people go crazy over this. It's wild. I remember when I used to live on campus because I went to the University of Alabama, and they used to like slash people's tire. Like they would like visit like fans of the team would like visit the other team's campus, like slash people's tires and shit like that. Like people would do crazy stuff. And it's gotten even. I think probably the most intense fans are like soccer fans, like the real football fans. Like I don't know if it's like calmed down over the years, but obviously there's so many crazy stories of soccer fans doing absolutely insane stuff. As an East Coast native, NYC is great, but it can wear on you over time. It takes a specific kind of person to want to live there. It's also prohibitively expensive for 90% of Americans. Yeah, exactly. I think maybe when I was like 20, I would probably enjoy NYC, assuming that I could afford it, which I couldn't. But if I could, I could probably enjoy something like that. But now, I need some peace. You know, I live in Alabama right now, and Alabama would be perfect if it wasn't for the fact that it was, you know, a regressive red state. Outside of that, it's perfect. It's cheap, it's pretty, the weather is good most of the time. Um, and it's like it has a nice city center, but it's still very quiet when it needs to be. You can get away from the noise when you need to. It's always a little bit weird, because I'm a professional content creator, so whenever I like talk to other content creators, I feel like it's always a little bit awkward when I tell them that I live in Alabama, because they all live in like Austin and LA and stuff like that, and it's like, yeah, I live in Alabama, bro. And they're like, oh, I don't know anyone from Alabama. Live in New York City once, but leave before it makes you hard. Live in Northern California once, but leave before it makes you soft. Interesting. I wonder how Northern California is compared to Southern California. I don't really know much about Northern California. Isn't that Northern California is where it's like the mountains and forests and stuff are, right? It's probably better. If you had the opportunity to go on a road trip, where would you want to visit? A road trip? I don't know, man. I There's so many places that I would like to go, and I've been to a lot of states. Well, maybe not a lot, but I've been to several states, and I've been to several cities in America. I haven't. I would like to go west, and that's what I'm like most ignorant of is the west outside of California. Like, I've never been to Vegas or Nevada. I've never been to Colorado or Wyoming or Idaho or New Mexico or Arizona. I would like to go to one of those places. And I guess Utah. I'm Utah. Y'all can have Utah. I'm good with Utah. But the other ones, I'd like to check out. Alabama. At least we aren't Mississippi. Yeah, I mean, it's not saying a whole lot, but yeah, that's our that's our claim to fame. At least we aren't Mississippi. I've been a fan since before 2020, and seeing your recent videos breaking 100K has been amazing. Like, you did a change of style and kept with it, and that could kill a lot of content creators. Um, I appreciate that. Yeah, I this channel has been through many evolutions, and there's probably been more evolutions since even before you got here. But um, and I definitely went through. I had some slumps. Um, After I stopped doing politics, I tried a lot of different things, and there were some slumps. There were a couple months there where, nothing was hitting. But lately the videos have been doing well. I don't want to get too complacent though, because it's really just a matter of trying to come up with ideas that people are interested in and just making good videos, which I think is it's a process that never ends. You keep learning different things and getting better at things. But yeah, it's been cool to see the videos are doing better. But you know, we still got a long way to go before I really get the channel to where I want it to be. That's the thing about YouTube, man. It's hard. Even if you got, you know, even if you make all these videos and they all get 100K views, it's still, you know, it's still like barely pays the bills, which is crazy. But a lot of that is just me not just being bad at, like, I'm the artsy guy, I'm the creative guy. I don't know how to do the money part of it. I shouldn't say barely pays the bills. Like, I'm fine, but you know, there's so much there's such a high peak for what you can do on YouTube, and I just want to know how to get to that next level. Bay Area is technically NorCal. I don't think I knew that actually. I knew that the Bay Area was far away from LA, but I didn't know it was that far. Even though I'm not from the Midwest, Chicago is more my vibe than New York. Amazing city and great balance between high energy and laid back. Yeah, I've never actually been to Chicago. Now that I think of it. If for some reason you became a multimillionaire and money would never be a problem for you again, do you think your outlook on the U.S. would change at all? My outlook? I don't think so. I'm not exactly sure what you're asking, but I don't think that my like worldview and political positions would change if I had more money. I'm sure that my outlook would be different if I had millions of dollars, but I don't think it would change like my basic worldview and like moral system. You're too modest. I mean, maybe. I'm just I think about this sometimes because sometimes I will look at channels that I used to like or channels that used to be like really popular and now they like, you know, they get like 500 views a video or like 1,000 views a video or like sometimes I'll find a video that's old, it's like 5 years old, but it's a really good video, but then I go to the channel and I see the channel's dead. And the fact that I've been able to sort of keep my channel going for so long. I mean, I've been making videos for 10 plus years for those that don't know. And, you know, obviously I've had a lot of plateaus and slumps in there, but the fact that I'm still going, I think is really cool and really unique. It doesn't always happen. What kind of content do you want to make that you don't because you don't think it'll do well? Well, for one, even like you can start at like the base level. So right now I'm mainly, or at least lately what I've been doing is making videos about sitcoms. I don't presume that I'm going to do that, only that forever. But even if you just start on that, I have to pick, like I can't just do any show, I don't think. Because for one, people tend to click on videos about shows that they like or at least have heard of. But there's a lot of shows that people may not have heard of or people may not care about that I would love to do videos about. And you know, a lot of times it may not even be the topic. Sometimes it's the title, thumbnail. Like maybe I just didn't sell it well enough and people didn't really understand why the video was good. But like for example, I have a video about the Bernie Mac show, which I think is one of my better videos. I think it came out very well, but it did not really do that well. And I assume that's just because not that many people care about the Bernie Mac show, especially this audience, which is like 80% white people, which again is fine. I don't mind that, but you know, white people didn't necessarily grow up watching the same shows as black people. I mean, there's a lot of overlap. But there are some shows that I think that I watched and a lot of black people watched that a lot of white people didn't watch, and maybe the Bernie Mac show is one of them. And not even, but you know, there's that. But then there's just other shows. You know, like when I was growing up, I watched the show Grace Under Fire all the time. I don't know if it was like a very good show, but I watched it a lot. If I did a video about Grace Under Fire, I kind of think it wouldn't get that many views because no one talks about that show. I don't think anyone cares about that show. But then we can even back up from that. So for example, I put out a couple videos that were about reality shows. And I think the videos were pretty good. But they tanked so hard. Like nobody watched them. They got, you know, something like between 10 and 15,000 views, which I understand as a sort of successful YouTube channel. There are a lot of people that would love to get 10,000 views. But for me, getting 10,000 views on a video is tanking. And you know, you have to come up with hypotheses as for why that happened. Like, was the video bad? I was like, well, I don't think the video was bad. It was at least as good as any other video I've made. So either I just had really shitty title and thumbnail that didn't interest people, or people just don't, that's not what people subscribe to this channel for. They don't want to watch videos about reality TV. They want to watch videos about sitcoms. But that is also sort of countered by the fact that literally my most viewed video is about a reality show. But that video is kind of unique and special because it's a really unique story, and I can't always find such a good story. But then even then you can back out from there. Like, what if I don't want to make videos about TV shows? To this day, I think the best video that is currently on my channel is my video about Scrabble. It's a video where I learn how to be good at Scrabble. Again, that video completely tanked. But again, you know, that's I guess that's just not what people are looking for when they subscribe to this channel, which is, you know, and that's one of the things you have to learn as a YouTuber. That's like, if you try to become a content creator, one common advice that you're gonna always get is find your niche and stick to it. And there's a reason for that, is because when you subscribe to a channel, you come to expect a certain thing. And if they change that, then you're like, well, this is not why I'm here, you know? Like if I like chess, for example, and I subscribe to chess channels. If I go on my favorite chess channel and they upload a video about Greek mythology, I'm going to be like, well, I'm probably not going to click on that. So I get it. That's just how, it's not just how YouTube works. I think that's just how like branding works. That's how products work, you know? If you go to like, I mean, some people can get away with mixing and matching stuff, but I apparently can't. So, and even beyond that, like there are so many things that I'm interested in. I'm sort of envious of people who can sort of make videos about whatever they want and people still watch. Maybe I can get to that point at some point, but I'm not there now for sure. But it would be cool to do that because I have a lot of interests. I would love to make videos about Marvel movies, about D&D, about pro wrestling, about, you know, all kinds of stuff. But it's just generally a good practice to niche down. Homeward Bound takes place in Northern California, and the sequel is in San Francisco. I remember Homeward Bound. You should do a video about unseen sitcom characters, specifically Vera Peterson and the Gooch. That's actually a decent idea, honestly. I might have to write that one down. That's a good idea. I guess I asked that question mostly because I see a lot of content about leaving the U.S., and I asked myself the question, if these people's cost of living was good, would that feeling of leaving still be there? I mean, if I was rich, I would probably leave. I mean, I feel like me not having, well, that's not, I was going to say not having resources is the only reason I haven't left the United States, but there are other reasons, like there's, family and stuff, but I think if I had more money, I would be more likely to leave. There might be a generational gap. Yeah, I mean, for certain content, for sure. I mean, I know I have people of all ages, but most of my audience is like basically like between 28 and 40, I think. So I try to make content for that crowd, and hopefully other people can enjoy it too. Judging Amy, anyone remember that show? I remember Judging Amy. I didn't really watch it though, but I do recall it being a thing. How do you feel about shows like CSI or Law and Order? I love Law and Order, and I love CSI. I don't know. I like those sort of police procedural type shows. It's just like, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just a good formula. Obviously, some of them are better than others, but I like the formula, and I think CSI and Law and Order probably did it better than anyone else. The original season of CSI is goated. It's so good. CSI Las Vegas. How many views would have been a good number? This sorry, I'm way behind on the comments, so I don't remember exactly what this was in reference to, but for my channel, I mean, ideally a good number of views is more than the last video. But these days, if I hit 100,000 views on a video, to me that's a success. I mean, honestly, it doesn't even have to hit 100,000, but it's like if it hits 100,000, it's like, okay, people liked it. But if I drop a video and it gets like 20,000 views, like today, it's like, oh, that tanked. Nobody wanted to watch that. It's such BS that your Scrabble video tanked. That video was tremendously good. Yeah, it was a good video, but like I said, I think it was just a little bit too different from what people expect from the channel. At least that's my theory. That's the thing. Sometimes it's just a theory, and you don't really know the answer until you like test it a bunch of times. Rock has to be the most criminally overlooked black sitcom of all time. Brilliant, honest, heartfelt, hilarious, and raw. Never seen anything like it before or since. Yeah, Rock was definitely a one-of-a-kind type of show. It felt very much like, I think the thing was I forgot the actor's name who played Rock, but he was like an accomplished stage performer, and I think that sort of lended itself to the emotional performances that he played. And in fact, I think a lot of the actors on that show were stage actors. So the show kind of felt like watching a play a lot of the time, which gave it a really unique vibe. I'll have to check out the Scrabble video. I love videos where people try to master something. I'd love to learn chess, ice skating, Spanish, and I wish I had the time to really immerse. Yeah, I had the I like learning skills too, and I was thinking about trying to make more videos about that, and that's kind of where the Scrabble video came. Because I did another video actually that is also pretty good. It's a video about how to memorize things, and so I um, learned memory techniques, and I learned how to memorize a deck of cards, which is really cool. But that video also tanked. So to me, that was kind of proof that just people, at least on this channel, people didn't want to see that. Maybe on a different channel, but not on this one. But I've talked about this before, but I don't know who's heard. I have a second channel that I'm basically gonna use to put videos on that just don't fit the scope of my main channel. It's probably still gonna be mostly sort of media commentary, but I won't feel so pressured about having to pick a certain show or a certain type of show. Um, and I'll just let like the actual like hardcore, fans of T1J can go subscribe there. But once I like have more resources and more of a team, there's a lot of different types of stuff that I would like to make, but I can't do it all really. It's just too much work. I need to hire some editors and stuff like that. Thoughts on Andrew Tate's chess master dad? Is Andrew Tate's dad a chess master? I didn't know that. Interesting. Speaking of D&D, any thoughts on starting up that Discord TTRPG campaign? Um, I haven't really thought about it again, but I just need to think of a good way to do it because as of right now, I don't want to do. I can't run like a real time game. Um, I was trying to think of a way to do a text based game on Discord, but I don't really know the best way to do it. I know that there are TTRPG systems that are designed for text, but all of the ones that I've seen, I don't really like any of them. I would like to try to find a way to make a text-based RPG campaign that doesn't have strict time restraints. That's the dream. Maybe I'll just have to design it myself. As someone who left the U.S. in the last year, it's not easy. I'm extremely critical of people saying to leave the U.S. even if they have money sorted. Yeah, I don't expect it to be super easy. Um, like there's a whole lot of research and stuff that I would have to do before even really seriously considering it. And it's possible that I could just determine that it's not really feasible or worth it. But just from a sort of personal reality standpoint, I just think that the United States is not the best country to be living in. And if there's a way to change that, then I'm probably going to do it at some point. But I don't know. And it's honestly it's actually it's probably not even good to be saying that. I might get stopped at the airport. Um Apparently, the president is going to be at Cena's last match. As much as I want Cena to do the right thing and disown him, Cena's too much of a company man to do that. His career will benefit. Yeah, Cena's not going to. Cena is he's a very diplomatic person. He's not going to do anything like that. But if the president is going to be there, he's probably going to get booed. So we'll see. That might be interesting to see. Sometimes the video just gets harsh treatment from the algorithm. Learning how to learn still feels like the sort of self-help genre that's been popular. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think I think in general the algorithm follows the audience. If the audience shows interest in something, then the algorithm reward it, and if the algorithm has been harsh on a video, that is because the audience didn't click on or watch or engage the video very much. And you can see, like, you can literally see your analytics in your YouTube dashboard, and you can see, and like I can see on those videos, like they have way less click through rates and uh just way less watch time and things like that. Charles S. Dutton was the actor who played Rock. Yeah, that's right. Not sure if you've ever seen Game of Thrones or read A Song of Ice and Fire, but if you have, which house would you belong to? I've never seen I have never seen a single episode of Game of Thrones, nor have I read the book. I don't know anything about it. I've heard some names here and there, so I'm like familiar with some characters, but yeah, I don't know anything about Game of Thrones. Do you think humans would still be the dominant species on Earth if modern firearms were never invented? Yeah, definitely. I mean, human intelligence is just on another level than any other species. Maybe it's a hot take, but my brother got mad at me for saying I'd rather leave than fight to make things better. Too many Trumpsters. I'd rather run than be forced into being a Nazi. Yeah, I don't. I mean, I think anyone is well within their rights to do whatever that they think that they need to do in order to, you know, live according to their values and live a high quality life, and just create a quality life for themselves and their family. I think if you want to fight, that's cool, but I think I mean, it's cringe to criticize someone for trying to just keep their family safe and stuff like that. I think a lot, in my opinion, and this might be my hot take, I think a lot of that, like, that idea that you need to stay and fight and, fight for your country and all that stuff, I think a lot of that is based on this sort of internalized American exceptionalism and this sort of internalized idea of America being this awesome place that has just temporarily lost its way. And I just don't think that's real. Um, uh, I think America kind of is and always has been one of the most corrupt nations in the world. It's a nation that has always sort of always screwed over its most marginalized people, um, and has done less and less to just create a peaceful, safe society for everyone. Obviously, it's not all bad. I like the idea of America, but in practice, I don't know that. So like if you don't have that sort of idea of America being this awesome place, then it's really easy to like would you be saying that like would that person be saying that if it was a different country? Like if it was like fucking like uh I don't know, Sudan instead of America? Not that, you know, that's just the first country that came into mind, but like I just think people have this idea of America being great. I just don't know that it ever was. Like we did some things right, for sure. I don't want to just say that's just all bad. Especially if there were no better options, and that's another thing too. You can't be forced to be a Nazi. You definitely can. I mean, you can't be forced to believe that immigrants need to be killed, but you can be forced to kill immigrants or, you know, or be punished for sure. Absolutely. A lot of people, even people that weren't in the military, a lot of people just Nazis because they went along with whatever the government was doing. Because it was otherwise they'd be like murdered. We're not at that point, but uh it's an incredible show, but an incredible disappointment at the end. That's what I've heard. If you're a fan of fantasy with a darker edge, you would enjoy reading A Song of Ice and Fire, but if you do, prepare to go down a rabbit hole of fan theorizing. Well, I'm a big fan of fan theorizing, so that's right up my alley. As a creator, do you have a desire to make content that stands the test of time, is watched long into the future? Not really. Um, no, not really. I I I hope to make more creative projects or make something like I don't think I've ever made something that was like that I would consider just a timeless, excellent piece of art that I'm super proud of. I mean, I like my videos, but I consider most of my videos entertainment more than art. But I would like to make some art and share it with the world. Maybe someday. But I don't really, you know, I'm not super concerned about what happens after I die. Because I'm not gonna be here. And as of yet, I don't really have any like descendants or anything like that. So you know, maybe if I do, I'll think a little differently about that. But do you think it's deliberate that traveling to and immigrating to other countries, at least from the U.S., is expensive, so it's harder for us to leave? Um, I don't know. I never really thought about that. I mean, it makes sense that immigrating is hard. It shouldn't be as hard as we make it here in America, but it at least makes sense. You know, a country should have, I don't think they should, but it makes sense that countries have some sort of standards and processes for immigration. Like I don't mind that or think it's weird. That's what gets me about people against illegal immigrants. We're talking about people literally running from drug cartels, violence, hunger, etc. I'd illegally take my kid to another country too. Yeah, I mean that's what a lot of people don't understand is sometimes the situation is so bad that they literally risk, you know, legal punishment, imprisonment, or worse, just to get away from that situation. People have ideas that their country is great. It's called nationalism. Yeah, I mean, and I think that's cool. I think people have. I don't really like say it correctly. I think probably most people like the idea of their country, but very few people. Well, not very few, but there are a lot of countries where people like, I'm proud to be from here, but I acknowledge that it sucks to live here and I would like to move. You know, a lot of these immigrants that come to the border are probably examples of that. I think they're very proud of their heritage, but they acknowledge like, well, the situation that I'm in sucks and I need to live. I need to leave. I don't think that the situation I'm in is probably as bad as some of these people who have to deal with like drug cartels and stuff. But I think it's pretty bad. And I think it probably could be better. I think there's probably something better. But again, I would have to do a lot of research. I like one thing I'm concerned about is I'm a black dude, and I don't know if there's that many places in the world where they are super kind to people of color. You know, places that are also sort of economically prosperous and have a lot of opportunities and stuff like that. So that could end up being sort of a sticking point. Like, as much as I admire like the economic system of like Norway, if I go to Norway, are they gonna give me the side eye everywhere I go and just have to deal with microaggressions every day? I don't know. I have to do some research. Coercion is certainly possible. Absolutely. I think that's what was meant by forced. And sometimes it's not even coercion. Sometimes you just I think it can sneak up on you. I don't know. Like for example, for the Nazis or whatever, I don't think people just woke up one day being like, you know what, Hitler's right. But you just might wake up one day and realize, oh, I'm in a society that's controlled by the Nazis, and I have to decide if I'm just going to go along with everything or sort of risk my life fighting it. Like, that's a decision you have to make. And in a lot of cases, you can't really blame people that choose to just go along with everything. Perhaps they should have resisted. Perhaps they should have put their lives on the line, but you can understand why some people might not choose to do that. Like a very small example. This is a much smaller, much lower stakes example, but one of the reasons that I left Twitter is because it seemed to me that Twitter was starting to become basically just like a right-wing propaganda site. And I think that there's a lot of people that still post on Twitter that, in my opinion, are just kind of unwittingly contributing to a right-wing propaganda platform. And I decided that I didn't want to do that. So I left. Now, maybe I'm exaggerating a little bit, who knows? But I just it just seemed like if I stayed, I would have been just going along with a situation that sort of clashed with my values. So it's similar to that, I guess. I don't know if that's the best example, but that's kind of what came to mind. Irrespective of politics, which country do you think has the coolest flag? I know which country has the funniest flag. It's the Isle of Man. Hold up, I can show it to you. What's the best way to do this? This is the Isle of Man flag. Definitely the funniest one. Actually, is that how it looks? I feel like it's a okay, yeah, that's right. I've seen a bunch of different ones, which wasn't. Yeah, I think that's right. Um, what's my favorite one? I don't know though. Borders are oppression. I think that's an opinion that people have. I don't really know how I feel about that at this current point. Um, because sometimes there are ideas that make sense figuratively, but in practice they just don't work, and that might be one of them. Do you think if someone like Tom Hanks, who is generally liked by everyone, ran for president as an independent, he would be able to sway enough voters from both parties to win? Um, I mean, maybe it just depends on it depends on if he ran a good campaign and people were excited. I don't know that simply being someone that people like is enough, but I do think it probably helps if you already have a good campaign and you have like I live in Alabama. One of our senators is literally a football coach. No political experience, just a football coach that really likes Trump and he won based on that. So, well, I don't know if he won based on that, but being a beloved figure is definitely something that people that will help. Um, but you also have to run a campaign. When did I leave Twitter? I believe it was April of 2021 was was when I sort of officially left Twitter. Maybe 22. Can't remember one of those years. I only remember the month because my post the posts are dated. I actually think I posted once since then, but I think I just posted it. I posted something just kind of ironic, like "Holy shit, it sucks here now," but I didn't really like look at it or anything. It kind of looks like a swastika made of legs. I guess. I guess so. I don't know that I always get it gives me a little giggle every time I see this flag. Like I don't even. I'm sure there's like a very serious and interesting story behind why it looks like that, but it's funny. The Republic of Formosa had a cool flag. I don't even know what that is. A short-lived republic that existed on the island of Taiwan in 1895. Oh yeah, that's tight. Yeah, I'm talking about Tommy Tuberville. He used to be the coach of Auburn University. He's just sort of your typical Trump guy. It sucks. And now AJ McCarron, who used to be a quarterback for Alabama's football team, I think he's running for office. He's running for like governor or some shit, I think. He was in the NFL, I think, also for a little while. Tommy Tuberville. Everyone like in the media, they always say Tuberville because that's what it looks like, but it's Tuberville. As an Alabama fan or as an Alabama native, I can tell you that. Isle of Man flag gives some Silent Hill monster vibes. If you could learn one form of elemental magic, IRL, which school would you choose? Elemental magic. Is elemental, I guess, like, wind, fire, earth, air, that type of stuff? Water. Being able to create water, I guess, would be pretty useful, huh? I mean, I guess I kind of already have access to unlimited water most of the time. This is interesting. Like, if you allow that time is an element, then I always pick time. But I'm guessing that's not allowed. I think being able to have time based magic is always it's the best superpower by far. Um, but if I have to pick one of the sort of like standard elements, I guess fire would be probably most useful in my life. Does that mean I'm an Auburn fan? Absolutely not. Alabama, roll tide. We live in an SNL sketch? Absolutely. Honestly, man, SNL sketches are usually they're much less of a bummer than whatever we're doing. Tuberville was the one holding up a bunch of military military promotions over the U.S. military giving birth control medication to service women. I think so, yeah. You stop yourself through saying you're an Alabama fan. Well, I am an Alabama fan. It just wasn't really relevant to the thing that I was saying at the time. Although it kind of is, because the reason that I know who Tommy Tuberville is because it's from watching football as an Alabama fan. My screen finally cracked enough to be unusable, and I'm trudging through the process of digitally moving into a new one. That sucks. Um, are you talking about on your phone? I recently had to buy a new. Well, I didn't have to buy a new phone, but I did buy a new phone. My last one was pretty cracked up, and I'm in this weird position where I don't like phone cases. I just think they make the phones ugly. So I refuse to have phone cases. So I have to be like extra careful with my phones. I haven't seen you on my feed in ages. What have you been up to? What's up, Catachino? What have I been up to? Um, same shit. YouTube. If you haven't seen me in your feed, I've been here. I've been making videos. But thanks for stopping by. Probably gonna I'm probably gonna stream for maybe 10 to 30 more minutes. We'll see. I'm getting kind of hungry actually. I really like the Neil Young song Alabama, but a lot of people don't. I don't even know if I know that song. I know that a lot of people like the song Sweet Home Alabama, which is a really good song, but I will tell you that most people in Alabama are absolutely sick of that song. Squinted Alabama poster in the wall. It's a little blurry. I didn't really intend. It looks like it's intentionally in the shot, but that's just where it happens to be, like in relationship to where my setup and desk is. But I don't know. It adds a little flavor to the background, I guess. It may. I don't know if it's obvious that that's an A up there. But I think if you like know what the Alabama logo looks like, you can probably tell. But if you don't, then it's probably just looks like a blur. How do you protect yourself from sparkly vampires? Aren't the sparkly ones the ones that don't eat people, or is that just Edward? It's just vampires are, I feel like, well, it depends on the source material for the vampires, but I assume if you say sparkly, you mean Twilight, which I'm not super familiar with. When I think of vampires, I always think of World of Darkness vampires, Vampire the Masquerade vampires, because that's just what that's the way that I've mostly interacted with vampires. And if you run into one of those, you're probably just done. Gotta make my way to the backlog. Hope your night's going great. Cool. Yeah, I mean, night's going well. Hope you get a chance to check out some of the videos. I don't know how long it's been since you've watched my content or interacted with the channel, but depending on how long it's been, it's channel evolves over time, I guess. That song literally plays at any event that happens here. Sweet Home Alabama. It could be a Christmas event. They'd still play Sweet Home Alabama. I mean, it's a really good song, but it is quite overplayed for sure. You got a bit of the bisexual lighting going on plus Alabama. Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, I put some blue light in the back just to spice it up a little bit. Because outside of that, the wall is just plain white, and I thought maybe some blue light will make it more interesting. I can see how that would get annoying. My state song is literally Oklahoma, which can get old pretty fast. I'm sure. Have you engaged in any AI art the same way you do regular art? Apparently, AI Zania Monet has topped the charts, but those statistics don't look realistic. Um, yeah, I don't know about this. I don't know about the Zania Monet thing, but I don't know. I've seen AI art. I don't think I've ever seen or heard something created by AI that was like as moving as something created by a human. But is Zanya, is this just like straight up AI, or is someone using AI to inform what they do? But yeah, I don't know. Anyway, We should get ready though. AI is going to get better and better. I think we should prepare for AI to get really really good at mimicking humans in terms of even in the creation of art. Oh, what's up, Roach? Thank you for the kind words. Uh, that's what we need to ask. What clan of vampire did you play? Um, let's see. Gangrel, I guess, was the last time. I've run a couple of games of vampire. The last time I actually played, though, I played Gangrel. Anyone into vampires should watch The Lost Boys. Yeah, The Lost Boys is good. I love the aesthetics of the song, but I remember my dad saying something close to the Southern Man lyric in Sweet Home Alabama was a diss against Neil Young's call for self-reflection in the South's history. Yeah, that's right. I'm pretty sure I knew about that sort of tidbit. Yeah, because Neil Young has a song. I think doesn't he have a song called Southern Man or something? And he's just criticizing the South, but it's like a fair criticism, I think. um, but also in Sweet Home Alabama, there's the song, or there's the lyric. In Birmingham, they love the governor, boo boo boo, which I think is a reference to George Wallace, right? Is that his name? Or not Wallace. I'm thinking someone else. Oh, it is George Wallace. Okay, I was right. So yeah, I don't know. They're sending mixed signals in that song. One last thing that I'm off for the night. If you do decide to read A Song of Ice and Fire, do not get the new illustrated edition of A Feast for Crows because it has terrible AI art. Really? That's disappointing. I will be looking for some fiction to read soon, so there's a non-zero chance that I might read it. Geek and Sundry had that Vampire the Masquerade actual play LA by Night with Eric Ishii and B. Dave Walters. Yes, they did, and it was amazing. And I think LA by Night, like genuinely, I think LA by Night is like my favorite thing that's ever been made. Like it's my favorite thing that's ever been made for the internet. It's so good. And it started on Geek and Sundry, but eventually um moved it became like its own thing. It moved over to the World of Darkness channel for season 5, I think. Maybe season 4. But I love LA by Night. It's like one of my it's I mean like I said, I think it's my favorite thing on the internet. Um and LA by Night is actually the kind of what got me into Vampire the Masquerade. Yes, Sweet Home Alabama was a response to Neil Young's critical song Southern Man in Alabama, which accused the South of racism, which they were. Leonard Skinner wrote the song to defend the common Southern man and argued that not all Southerners were racist. The lyrics mentioned Governor George Wallace with a sarcastic boo-hoo-hoo, indicating the band's opposition to segregation. Yeah, I mean, I don't really know the exact lyrics of the Southern Man song, but my understanding was that it was a pretty fair criticism of, the 60s and 70s in the South, which, was was a pretty racist time, pretty overtly racist time. When did you go live? Please don't leave yet. I'm probably gonna end the stream in maybe like 15 minutes or so. I start at 6. I start every Friday at 6 p.m. Central Time, so that's just what works for me, and that's the biggest, or at least the best compromise I can come up with between what works for me and what works for the audience. But I don't want to stream too late, and I also am already getting hungry. I have to eat dinner. Also, I have more work to do. Read the A Song of Ice and Fire series. It's so good, especially the first book. Very well written and way less congested with the over sexualization of Game of Thrones. Cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't know anything about any of that, so I have to take your word for it. I guess perhaps my pops thought their defense was superficial or inadequate. Honestly, I mean, I I'm not an expert on it, but I do think it was kind of. To me, it sounds like Neil Young was trying to make a sort of thoughtful criticism, and they responded by saying, "Nuh-uh." That's kind of what it sounds like to me. Now they did it in a really good song, but that's just kind of what it sounds like. T1J arc happening never? What T1J arc? Freakier Friday has some cringe moments I struggled through, but still got some tears from me by the end. If dark magic is real, Disney is using it. I mean, Disney do know how to tap into your emotions. I guess it's cool that they made Freakier Friday though. I mean, everything these days is like a remake or a reboot or a sequel or a prequel, but if people are into it, that's fine, I guess. If you look at the top comments on any of these popular AI songs, they say something to the equivalent of "this goes hard on mute." That's funny. T1J streamer arc. I'm still not sure what you mean. I definitely um I definitely can only stream to a small extent though. Currently I stream, for those who don't know, I stream most Thursdays and most Fridays. On Thursdays I play games. Right now I'm playing Disco Elysium. And on Friday I do stuff like this where I just chill and hang out and respond to people's questions and comments. Both start around 6 p.m. Central Time. And I don't think I'll be streaming it much more than that. The streams are usually like 2 to 3 hours, maybe 4 hours if I'm really engaged. But yeah, I can't stream more than that. Like streaming, you might not guess it, but streaming is a little exhausting. I don't see how well, I mean, a lot of the professional streamers are like young, so I can see that, but I couldn't be streaming like 8 hours a day like some of these people do. Let's get morbid, burial or cremation. Well, I mean, burial is cheaper. I had this weird thought when I was a kid that I don't think is like practical or rational, but it still like bugs me. Like, what if they somehow come up with a way to bring people back to life, like in the distant future? But you done burned your shit away, so they can't do it. Now that's probably not gonna be a thing. But what if it is? So that I don't know. I still think about that, but that probably won't affect my sort of burial post death plans. Probably just do whatever's cheaper. I I I I'm just gonna tell my loved ones, do not go broke after I die trying to bury me or have a funeral. Like, do not do that. Um so if you just have to like, donate my body somewhere for free and then just have like a gathering at your house, just do that. I don't need anyone like it's just like, I had to deal with funeral preparations and stuff, and it's like super stressful and super expensive, and it's like I don't want anybody to do that. But I guess a way to help with that is to like have insurance and stuff like that. But it's just everything costs money. Got me wishing they could freeze me or something like that. Yeah, the idea of sort of like being cryogenically preserved is cool, but the thing is, you get unfrozen at some point, you still have to live out the rest of your life. So it's like, what's the difference? I guess you could freeze yourself and hope that you get brought back into a more just and equitable civilization. But I don't know if I trust humans to achieve that. From what I hear, there's no known way of properly freezing people, not to mention the dark horrors of what happened to people in cryogenic freezers that got turned off. Yeah, that's the thing too. You have to hope that whatever organization or company that is freezing you, stays in existence for however long is necessary. But even if they keep you frozen, the thing is that water crystallizes and those crystals shred cellular structure, which in turn shreds the whole purpose. True. I mean, I think if it were a thing, it would probably be more complicated than just ice, just water. It'd be some kind of complex chemical structure, I assume. But, you know, I don't know. I guess we'd have to have a reason to do that, I guess. And especially in today's world, you'd need a reason to do that that also made someone money. And I don't know that we have that. As a teenager, I was ignorant enough to hope for a future where medicine can stretch life for millennia. I think a lot of people have that where they think, well, I'll be fine because by the time I'm old, they will have solved death. But after you get a certain age, I think it's like, that's probably not a thing. But I do think we will get better at extending life. I don't know about millennia, but I think we're gonna see people living to like 150 probably. Before you know it. I don't know if this generation or the next after the next, but I think we'll see stuff like that. Especially if we ever, because really, like, and I'm like 80% talking out of my ass because I'm not an expert, but aging, one of the reasons that people die is just because you live so long that the extra time allows for more stuff to happen to your body. So if we get better at fixing those things, like cancer, for example, is like, cancer kills a lot of people, and it kills a lot of older people simply because you've lived so long that your body has had time for cancer to develop. But if we get better at beating cancer, people are going to live way longer. As a single example, What's up, Tree T? You've come at basically the end of the stream, but thanks for stopping by. Unfreeze me when John Vasquez comes out with new Johnny the Homicidal Maniac media. I don't want to come back when everyone I know and love is dead. Yeah, it would be a bit. Yeah, for sure. That's probably also one of the problems of living for a long time. But I assume, and there are a lot of people I think that just don't even want to live that long. I think a lot of, especially if you are old and, you're weaker, and, a lot of people aren't as fit when they're older. And, you just naturally get weaker and things like that. And after a certain time, you're like, I'm good. I've lived long enough, My grandma had cancer twice, but at the end she was actively dying. Yeah. Yeah, cancer is the worst, bro. Let's be honest, humans discover any sort of immortality ain't coming from America. I mean, it could, but I will say this, if we discover it, it's probably, at least at first, only going to be available to rich people, which is going to make it even worse because it's just going to be a bunch of rich people who get to live forever. That sounds awful. Like, I still hella want to live for the rest of my potential 110 total years, but like, I know how to love and be kind, unlike the billionaire weirdos who are overwhelmed with regret. Yeah. I'm at a point where, I like being alive, but if you're like 90 and, can barely get around that well, I can see why you might feel like, I'm good. But I I think, and I'm at a certain age. I think this happens to a lot of people when they approach or pass 40. You start to be like, oh shit, like it's not a joke anymore. I'm like actually getting older now. So I need to decide what I'm gonna do. Like I need to start taking better care of myself if I want to like actually like ride this out. Note to self: salads and yoga. Yeah. The problem is there's so much good stuff, man. You telling me I'm not allowed to eat chicken fingers? What kind of life is that? I can't have Oreos. I can't have brownies. I can't have fudge brownies. Nah. I want to outlive the bastards that made my living conditions so bad that my health declined. Uh, cheers to that, I guess. My great grandmother died at 105. She outlived her kids. The way I live, I'll be lucky to make it to 70. Yeah, and I think some people. I don't know. I don't want to get too dark here, but for some people, life is just not that fun, and I think a lot of people are not super. They're not. They're like okay with the concept of not being alive, basically. And because of that, they don't really take good care of themselves. They may like have dangerous or harmful habits, things like that. But I don't know. I'm trying to take care of myself. I have one living grandparent left. All the other ones are gone, but I have one left, and she has already outlived several of her kids, which I can't even. That sounds awful. But I guess it goes the other way. You know, it's awful when your parent dies also, which I've experienced. So loved one dying either way is bad, but I feel like it's got to be a particular kind of awful if you outlive your child. Uh, please tell me you're watching Pluribus. I don't know what that is. That's a show. I've never seen it. No. You eat the salad so you can eat more fried potatoes and fudgios. Yeah, you know, as they say, moderation, everything in moderation. But it's hard to moderate, man. It's too good. I can't even buy like potato chips and salty snacks because I will just sit and eat the whole bag. It's like impossible not to. So I just don't buy it anymore. Just tuned in and didn't realize it's a serious combo. Oh, it's all good. Sometimes, yeah, sometimes the conversation leans towards seriousness, but you can step whatever you want. But we're nearing the end of this particular stream, so as long as life is still there, you can find a way that makes it better. I grew up with Holocaust survivors or folks that fled Europe, and they instilled in me the idea that as long as there's life, there's a way to make it better. That's how I feel. I think life is all about just figuring out how to do the things that you just figuring how to make it good. It's like figure out what you want and then do that, and if you can't do that, then figure out what steps you need to take in order to do it. That's basically life. But I think a lot of people have sort of given up on the first step. A lot of people just don't believe that they can get the things that they want, or that they can get that they can be happy, which is sad. But I don't know if um I don't really vibe with that. I feel like the good life involves a healthy mix of doing healthy things for survival and doing what we love so that life is worth living. Yeah, I agree with that. Pluribus, you would love it. So many implications in philosophical thinking. Interesting. There's so many shows that I have to check out. Is that a show or a movie? It's a show, TV series. But I think that's probably a good note to end the stream on. End the stream on. Um, and we've been talking about food, and that's just making me more hungry. So I'm gonna go and make some dinner. Thanks for checking out the stream as always. As I mentioned before, I stream on Thursdays and Fridays in the evening time. So come check me out. Make sure you have all notifications turned on if you want. I always forget what I want to like say at the end of the streams. Just check out my latest video if you haven't. It's about The Office, and be on the lookout for the next video. It should be coming, probably going to be coming at the beginning of the December. If I can get it earlier than that, I will. But be on the lookout for that. I do have some YouTube shorts. If you guys watch YouTube shorts, I've just been putting out fun little shorts. I've put out a few of them. I put out like maybe one a week for the past month or two. So you can check those out if you like shorts. Good night and good luck. Use your head but follow your heart. Ooh, I like that reference. Captain D for the win. But what I will say is just be kind to each other. We live in a weird, crazy, shitty world sometimes, and I think that we could all just be a little kinder to each other. So that's what I'll say. But that's about it. And I'll see y'all next time. Bye bye.